So President Trump is now facing a big choice: either help Israel destroy Iran's nuke facility or continue to negotiate. Axios reports that Trump is seriously considering joining the war on Iran and launching a strike against its nuclear facilities. However, President Trump is still open to a deal, but says it could depend on his mood.
Are you open to negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I don't know. I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. The cities have been blown to pieces. We've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate.
So, Kayleigh, on the right, we have a big difference of opinion here, but unlike the left, we're not afraid to show it. And you know all the players involved. So I guess I got to ask you, I want to talk about that thing. Should it matter that the mood of America, they voted for a guy who wanted to concentrate on America first. We got the guy in, and now we're here almost participating in a war. How do you explain that, say, to your MAGA friends, the Tuckers and the Bannons, or then you have the other side, the Rubios and the Mike Waltzes. What do you say?
So I observed America first up front and personal in term one. And what I learned about President Trump, he's a man of action, not words. He's not a Neville Chamberlain. He is a Churchill. He is not someone who sits in a beach chair and lets history happen to him. He makes history. He acts strategically. He acts when it's in our interest. When he took out Soleimani, when he took out al-Baghdadi, when he acted in Syria, when they used chemical weapons on their own people. Every dictator in the world observed that. And you know what happened? Putin, for the first time in 4 presidencies, did not invade a sovereign country. The last and final year of his presidency, not a single American troop died in Afghanistan. You look, ISIS dismantled. He's not words, he is action. How is Bannon and the folks that you mentioned and the people advocating for just sitting back and taking it easy, how are they any different than Biden's foreign policy? Biden's foreign policy was, I say don't, and Putin does. I say don't, and the Taliban takes over Afghanistan. I say don't, and 2 global wars start on my watch. That is the Biden foreign policy. That is by no definition America first. Iran has had 5 decades, almost half a century to talk. And what they've done instead, kill 609 American troops in Iraq. What they've done is put an assassination plot on President Trump's head. What they've done is take American hostages and wreak havoc on the world. America first is not sitting in a beach chair and using words. It's taking decisive action when we can take out Fordo the one swoop of an airplane.
All right, Jesse. We know from Trump's words and deeds, he's pretty stingy with blood and treasure. He's not a guy who's into wars. So what do you think he's going to do? Is this going to be something highly specific? If he gets involved, why isn't anybody asking what's next?
We are.
Yeah.
And some people on the right are asking that. The left isn't asking anything. They've just totally withdrawn themselves from this debate. So right now it's a maximum pressure campaign, and we control the air, and we have sanctions and espionage activities, and they have no proxies. So Donald Trump is saying to the Ayatollah, we know where you eat, we know where you sleep. I'm the one keeping you alive. Bibi wants to knock you out and put you 6 feet under. I'm keeping you alive. So here are your options. Option number 1 is you come right to the negotiating table, you sign a deal, and we take your nuclear facilities offline and out of the country. Or we take them out with bunker busters. We can do it the peaceful way, or we could do it the violent way. It's actually a choice that Khomeini has to make himself. Now, there are risks associated with using the bunker busters. You're basically taking out the only card that they have left to play. That's all their leverage. So they could lash out unpredictably, suicide bombers, dirty bombs, missile strikes against naval assets or bases in there. But it looks like this is moving so fast. Our intelligence said that Netanyahu had decided he was going to strike Iran alone or with the United States after October 7th. There was nothing we could say that would stop him, even if we were negotiating over this deal. And so Trump was like, no, and told him to chill twice. Bibi asked for bunker busters. Trump told him to back off, didn't give them to him, but then felt the Iranians were stringing him along during these negotiations. And after the deadline eclipsed, the day after, he greenlit the Israelis to go in hard. And now he likes what they've done. They've been effective with this air campaign. And now is the choice. Is he going to use these bunker busters to get the United States involved offensively in the campaign? So far, he's been very deliberate, and he's keeping all options on the table. And so far, so good. We hope he makes the right call.
Emily, how do you reconcile the differences of opinion in the MAGA movement? You have, I mean, I'm grappling with it. I was, part of the charm for me was that we weren't going to deal with foreign wars, but at the same time, I understand the threat. I don't know where to, and I don't want my opinion assigned to me from a John Bolton, or whoever.
To that point, I think we elected a certain individual to represent all of our interests. And we know that his primary or final objective is peace through strength and to have no eternal wars. And so it would be that candidate, i.e. the commander-in-chief, President Trump, that would hold our faith that we know come hell or high water, he's going to get to that endpoint. But I agree with you, and that's why we see that kaleidoscope of opinions that people have, right? Intervention, how much is that, right? There's different definitions, essentially, of intervention. Some consider even the use of one B-22, that is indeed intervening, that is potentially risking blood and treasure. And there are others that say, no, this is exactly, sort of a minimal step, and anything short of intense investment is less than what we're talking about here. But I think your question of what's next and asking that question, that's the right question. Because the reality is we inherited, what we learned from this prior administration is that inaction furthers the interests of our enemies. Iran has been emboldened and equipped and was incentivized to terrorize Israel and also American interests over and over and over again. So we inherit that situation. And Michael Oren said this, the Israeli former ambassador to the U.S., that with this scenario, President Trump has the opportunity to become the greatest peacemaker of the century because everyone else just tried to curb the nuclear threat. But here we're trying to potentially totally eradicate it. And then what if the result is actually the annihilation, the failure of the Islamic regime? And then we ask, what's next? Well, what would be the positive? Look, not irrespective of the big Charlie Foxtrot that could be, an enemy whose identity is based on the death and destruction of America, the great Satan, and Israel, extinguished. Sovereignty of the countries around it and the demilitarization potentially of Yemen and Gaza, expanding the Abraham Accords. The impact on our security and our global economy is truly direct. So for me, I think the other alternative is waiting around for them to blackmail us, for Iran to say, oh, guess what? Oh, you're not going to do this? Here's a nuke. So I think the only option for peace is some type of intervention. And I trust our commander-in-chief to represent that well.
So, Jessica, this is a situation where you find yourself on the same side as President Trump. And both of you have an affinity towards Israel. Correct?
Definitely.
So
yeah.
What is your take on what he's doing and what America should do and what's next?
So my take on what he's doing is that he's doing what Bibi wants to do. So he had made it clear over and over that he wanted a diplomatic path. And yes, it was day 61, and he had said, you have 60 days. But he had been planning to have his team meet just 2 days later on the Sunday to try to go through the 6th round of talks. And he wanted a new nuke deal, even though the parameters of it were basically just the old deal that he had ripped up. So Bibi decided this is my chance, and Trump had no choice but to go along with it. And the New York Times is reporting today, just to make everyone at the table feel a little bit more powerful, that not only was it that this is what Israel decided to do, but that Donald Trump liked Fox's coverage of the Operation Rising Lion. And everyone was talking about what genius it was, because it was a genius operation on the part of the Israelis, and that he wanted to be able to claim some credit for himself of that. And, America first, I get it, Trump doctrines. He's not someone that deals in a ton of specificity. It can vary.
True.
It really is. Look at his
You've
word
observed,
choices.
you've been in the situation room with him.
I can read.
He deals
I can
in
see
complete
his post.
specificity.
Okay, so the one
He took out Soleimani. He took out al-Baghdadi.
Haley, I heard you, and I heard that he was Winston Churchill. But if he's saying on Truth Social
What
today,
was Joe Biden? Did that work? Did that work? The beach chair of foreign policy?
Just let me finish. It's not that bad. It's just 2 minutes. I'll be done. A minute and a half now. Probably just a minute. Jessica,
You're down to a
jump
minute
in.
15.
Okay. So he's a minute. Okay. He's posting using we. That's the pronoun that he's using for this. So he's saying, we know where you are, and we're deciding not to kill you. We're in control of the Iranian skies. We has the implication that we are now in this fight with them. that it has happened already, whether or not we give them the B-2 bombers and take out the nuclear site that's built into the mountain, Fordo, I think it's called. What's also interesting about what's going on is that it appears that Tulsi Gabbard has been iced out. So Peter Doocy was reporting earlier that there was a meeting last week at Camp David, all the intel chiefs, Tulsi not invited. And Donald Trump yesterday, when he was speaking on Air Force One, someone said, you know, Tulsi testified just back in March that Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon. And he goes, I don't care what she said. And I have a lot of disagreements with Tulsi and her policy, but she is a very clear war dove, right? That was part of the reason that she liked Donald Trump. Why didn't he invite her? She's a DNI.
No,
and
what
she
I'm saying is Trump's
Camp David.
response was to the reporter, meaning I don't care.
But then,
it was about the question, not necessarily
well,
about
then why didn't she get to go to Camp David?
You're talking about gossip, Jessica. We're talking about
No,
war
I'm
and
not.
peace,
Our very
death and destruction.
Our
And you're
very
talking
own
about
Peter
gossip.
Doocy.
Okay,
No, I'm not.
We asked you, or he asked you, what you thought of this situation, and it's all gossip, and like, it doesn't matter,
I'm
all
sorry
that stuff.
I
It's
didn't
harder
call
to
him
defend.
What do you
Winston
think we
Churchill.
should do about Iran? What do you think the commander-in-chief has done so far? What do you think about our allies, the balance of power in the Middle East? You don't have anything to say.
That's not
You're just
true.
It sounds like Us Weekly.
It's harder to defend two global wars in Jessica's defense and the losing of a country to the Taliban.
Kaylee, I'm
That's much harder to
totally
defend.
capable of defending myself, and I did express what I thought about it. I think
this-
that Bibi is in charge of what's going on.
And do you think
Bibi
that's good or bad, Jessica?
Listen, I think it is a lot easier to say that Iran deserves to lose its nuclear program and to be wiped out than what's going on the Gaza side. And he has a lot more support for that, including from the Republican base. There's interesting polling that the Senate, the GOP senators are using, which show actually that the MAGA base is supportive. Oh, Kaylee's nodding, so now we're
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Let's
Very highly detailed conversation.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.